What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Thank you for downloading, viewing the #1 ranked show. And we got a really great show for you today. We're going to talk with Indiana head coach Tom Allen. We're going to break down the preseason AP top 25. And we got a really fun We Out Here segment for you, along with my top impact freshmen. But first, check it. The preseason AP top 25, as I told you, came out, last Monday. And once again, Alabama is at the front, but don't worry, Texas is back. Nick Saban recently became the last man on earth to find out that Oregon has more than 100 uniform combinations for its football team. Upon hearing this fact, Saban told the media, "We have 2 red jerseys at home, white jerseys away. Our main concern around here is who is wearing them." It's funny. I read the same thing about some soldiers in the Revolutionary War. They weren't the good guys. Meanwhile, at Oklahoma, where the nickname for the flagship football team is a euphemism for thief, and where we also wear red and white jerseys, well, we just say that tracks. Speaking of OU, the Sooners debuted at number 2 in the preseason poll, making it the second highest ranked team in the SEC. Some analysis now, because that's what you tune in the show for. There are 5 Pac-12 teams ranked in the top 25. It's not too shabby, which is 1 for every year since the league has put a team in the college football playoff. The SEC got a total of 6 teams into the poll, including longtime and sustaining member Oklahoma, which is 1 for every team the league thinks should get into the 14 tournament every single year. 16 for 4 spots. The Big Ten got 5 into the poll, 1 to compete in the playoff, and the other 4 to build Ohio State's resume. The remaining 9 ranked teams come from lesser, more inconsequential conferences, like the ACC and the Big 12. Number 3, Clemson, received 6 first-place votes, or the number of broadcasters capable of correctly pronouncing DJ Uiagalelei. Ohio State ranks number 4 in the poll, no matter what Dabo Swinney thinks about it. Pardon me if that's like pouring sugar into an open wound. At number 5, Georgia is in a very familiar position. It's looking up at number 1, Alabama, looking down on Florida, and embarrassingly at 4 decades without a national title. Talk about your 40-year drought. That's a storyline so absurdly funny that Steve Carell starred in a movie about it. Texas A&M sits at 6th in the poll, which might be the highest the Aggies rank all year. To understand why I framed it this way, I feel we need to take a walk through &U football history. You see, recently, Jimbo Fisher has never beaten Alabama as head coach at &U. Hasn't beaten Nick Saban and Alabama since 2012, when I graduated grad school. It hasn't won a conference title this century, and it hasn't won a national title since World War II began in 1939. Yet &U fans believe this is their year. And you know what? &U fans, you are right. This is your year. Every single year. At number 7, Iowa State isn't sneaking up on anybody because its mascot is a tropical storm in a landlocked state. It's kind of hard to miss because it's a meteorological impossibility, like blizzards in Brazil, or 110-degree heat in Scandinavia in December, or the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. Cincinnati locked up the number 8 spot, means the Bearcats are picked to be the highest ranked team locked out of the playoff for a second straight season. Bravo to them. Notre Dame ranks 9th in the poll. If the Irish can move up 3 spots by season's end, they'll be in the unparalleled position to lose a 10th straight New Year's Six Bowl. Fighting Irish. North Carolina is ranked number 10 in the poll. It's the first time that the Tar Heels have been ranked this highly at the start of the season since 1997. Expectations in Raleigh haven't been this high since tutors at UNC told players, "I got you." Now, the AP poll has been around since like 1936, right? That year, unemployment reached 16.9% in the U.S. Germany aligned with Italy and Japan to form the Axis powers, and King Edward abdicated the throne. But it was a banner year for sports shoulder programming. Hit a new high with yet a new way to rank stuff. The top 10 teams in the preseason poll, of course, again, as a recap: Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas A&M, Iowa State, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, and North Carolina. Now, every single year for the past 19 years, save 2019, there has been at least one preseason top 10 team that finished the season unranked. So as you can see, these rankings can pick a national title winner and predict the future. Defending Pac-12 champ Oregon ranks number 11. Just goes to show that hard work, resilience, and a close relationship with the 19th richest man in the world and progenitor of the most successful retail apparel company in history can do for a young, scrappy program. Let's not confuse Oregon with Alexander Hamilton, is all I'm saying. At number 12, Wisconsin carries the nation's expectations to be like the Bucks and Antetokounmpo, though I don't think that that's really in the cards for them. Florida ranks number 13. I'm honestly just concerned about whether or not they want to be ranked there. If you think that's dismissive, consider the core of this UF team lost 55-20 to Oklahoma in the 2020 Cotton Bowl. You realize that the 55 points Oklahoma dropped on Florida in the Cotton Bowl were the most since Nebraska dropped 62 on the Gators in 1996 in the Fiesta Bowl. None of the kids on Florida's team were alive the last time the Gators gave up 55 or more. Most older Florida fans wish they weren't either. Also, Nebraska dropping 62 on somebody. Those were the days. While we're on the subject of Florida, though, I object. And Miami ranks number 14 in the poll. Derek King hasn't lined up an NIL deal partnership with the Hurricanes ranking yet, though I'm sure his company's going to get right on that. USC ranks number 15 in the poll. It is their highest preseason ranking since 2018. Unconfirmed reports are, upon hearing this news, Clay Helton stood in the middle of the Coliseum, threw his sword into the well-heeled gentry in the luxury boxes, and yelled out, "Are you not entertained?" I think he's trying to tell y'all something. LSU ranks number 16, making it the 5th best team in the league behind Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, and perennial SEC power Oklahoma. Indiana opens the season ranked number 17. It is the first time the Hoosiers have been ranked in the AP preseason poll since 1969. It's a feat so astounding that Notre Dame and Purdue fans alike had to look up where Indiana is. Iowa ranks 18th here, but remains the nation's number 1 corn producer, adding even more insult to Nebraska injury. Penn State is ranked number 19, but against number 12 Wisconsin on September 4th, they got to prove it. Sorry, them's the breaks. Washington can substantiate its number 20 ranking by winning at the Big House, which is a euphemism for prison. Texas might rank number 21 in the poll, but the Longhorns are number 1 in unrealistically high expectations. At number 22, Coastal Carolina is ranked so highly that the Duke is already trying to make sure the sun never rises so the Chanticleers can't crow. Shout out to all my Rockadoodle fans out there. Y'all get it. Number 23, Louisiana is a ranked Texas win on the road away from being a real pain, and LSU fans is behind. Like it drank an entire bottle of Raging Cajun Louisiana hot sauce to wash down a dozen jalapeno peppers coated with chili powder engineered to match the heat of the sun. Might hurt a little bit coming out, that's all I'm saying. Number 24, Utah would like to know what gives with all this disrespect. Weren't y'all clamoring for BYU? Clamor for another Utah team. And then rounding out the top 25 is Arizona State, which is redundant. But remember what Mike Leach taught us. You can never underestimate the mystical powers of a Sun Devil. Next, we have Indiana head coach Tom Allen. Let's take a listen. Coach, how you doing?
RJ, I'm doing great, buddy. Good to see you.
Hey, it sounds like you've been getting the work in because as I was talking about before we started the show, you're getting a little hoarse there, Coach. What's it been like for you preseason camp?
Well, we just had practice number 12 today. So, yeah, my voice is a little bit raspy, but that's pretty typical for this time of year.
I like it, Coach. So one of the things I was noticing as I was preparing for this interviews, Indiana finished 2020 ranked for a program record 10 consecutive weeks, including a number 12 final ranking from the Associated Press, the highest final ranking it's had since 1967. And you're coming into a season where you're ranked in the preseason poll for the first time since we landed on the moon. Like, how did you do that in 4 years at Indiana?
Well, you know what? I got a great staff, and I got an awesome team that a bunch of guys that came here and believed. You know, they bought into the vision that we've established here, and it's been pretty awesome. It's been a very deliberate climb, and but yeah, I think it was just about changing the mindset. You know, we from the very beginning we had to create a different mindset here, and we had to create belief, and so that's been the goal all along is to change the way we view about ourselves, how we do things on a daily basis, and then ultimately, you know, how we're viewed, and that changes the expectations for your program. So, but at the end of the day, I just wanted players and coaches that believed.
A lot of coaches want players and coaches who believe, and a lot of coaches will tell me, I'm about changing the culture, or they'll have kids that say, we're going to change the culture at this program. Yeah. I can count on one hand how many times I've seen that happen, Coach. Mm-hmm. What is it that you are saying to your kids, to your staff, that you think is clicking at an Indiana school that I don't think I'm coming out of speaking out of school here, hadn't had the best football tradition?
Yeah, you know, we have not, and especially in the lifetime of our players. You know, all the kids that we're recruiting, you know, since they've been, you know, aware of college football, we have not, and so that was a challenge for sure. But at the same time, you know, we just wanted to create the vision and the belief that if we all could come together and make this about the guys around them, which is the LEO, you know, culture we built, stands for love each other. And from the very beginning, even before I became the head coach, my first year here, I was the defensive coordinator, and you know, just tried to establish a mindset that it's not about me. And if you get a whole bunch of guys that don't care who gets the credit, and everybody takes accountability for themselves and responsibility for their jobs and the things that we ask them to do within our program, and they truly learn that, man, this is a team game. And when the team makes sacrifices, and when the team truly loves one another, cares about each other, and plays for each other, and does things and is willing to make those sacrifices for the guy beside me, because that's a choice that you make, then I think something special starts happening. And that's how it began. And that was intentional for sure. And then try to find coaches that believed that and believed in that culture and wanted to buy into that. And then players that believed in that. And then you got to go recruit kids to come here to have the talent to help you win Big Ten football games. You know, so it's been didn't happen overnight, but it's all about relationships to me.
Well, Coach, I wanted to speak to that recruiting for just a little bit, because I don't again think I'm saying anything you don't know, that Indiana at one point is recruiting against Toledo and Miami of Ohio for players. And now you're recruiting with a first-team All-American at cornerback in your back pocket and 2 third-team All-Americans in your back pocket, showing that you can develop not just kids that want to play in the NFL, but also can stand out in the sport that you coach, as opposed to what the NFL thinks of them. What is it like for you to go into living rooms now that we can go into living rooms, and talk to players and kids about what Indiana football can do for them?
Well, I think that the power has come at this point in the ability to say, you know, this is what we've done, you know, and several years ago it was, hey, you were trying to get this young man and his family to believe in something we haven't done yet. That's something that we believed we could do if they would just come and help us do it. And so now we have tangible evidence of players, as you just mentioned, that have come here with that belief, whether they were, you know, supposed to be whatever level, you know, in their ranking system coming out of high school. We had guys at all different levels, and a lot of them were not projected to be high-end guys, but they came here, they bought in, they were developed when they got here physically, emotionally, mentally, and now they're playing at a high level. And so now you go into that living room and say, hey, we want you to be this guy. We want you to be the next, because this is what we've done. And we've been able to have a track record of not just maybe what this program did with the previous staff or You know, a lot of programs have a lot of great things that happened in the past that we don't have as a collective group. And so we can't say that, but my whole charge with that is, hey, we're the ones coaching you right now. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. It doesn't matter what happened here 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. All that matters is who's going to be developing you right now. And so I think that's resonated with families. And also it's an environment that, you know, we're going to value them way more as a person. And we're going to love them way more as an individual than as a football player. And that's not just recruiting speak. That's not just, you know, hey, that sounds great. You know, our players will tell them, and our players' parents will tell the recruits' parents and their families that is how it is here. And we do value them more as an individual person than what they can do for us as a football player. And so, and I think that resonates with these families because they want their sons to be in an environment where they're going to be developed as a man first. And they're going to be challenged academically to do things the right way in the classroom. And then at the end of the day, when I think you take care of yourself in the classroom and as an individual person, I think the football side of it takes care of itself.
Coach, I want to take a moment and quote you back to you for just a second here. As we counted in the Athletic, I'm not bashful about talking about this. When I first took over, I would not allow our team to break anything down on Big Ten champs because I had heard us doing it before and they felt like they were empty words. I didn't feel like there was belief in those words, and it was more negative than positive, that it was just something you said, and then everybody's jobs were off. This is the first off season I've given our players permission to break it down on Big Ten champs. I got to believe now, Coach, that is a statement of intent for you. Why do you believe that your kids have earned the right, the privilege, I should say, to break down on Big Ten champs?
Well, you know, it does have to be earned, you know, and that was the whole point. And you have to have a work ethic to back it up. You have to have, you know, a lifestyle to back it up. You have to have your actions have to back it up, because that's words become hollow when they don't match, you know, what you actually do. And so I didn't see, you know, a team that was doing the little things that it was going to take to be able to be, you know, quote unquote Big Ten champs one day. And so that's why I didn't want them to say it unless I felt like it was genuinely realistic, number one, and number two, something that they have earned the right to say. And so to me, that was kind of the big issue, other than just, you know, everybody, like you said, everybody wants to believe that you can do certain things, but your actions have to match. You have to create daily habits. And so we had to change the way we did everything here. The way we lifted weights, the way we practice, the way we watch film, the way we do walkthroughs, the way we do all the little things that you do to help yourself be successful on game day. And so you've got now several years of that. And then now you started getting some breakthrough wins on the field that put you in position. We finished number 2 in the Big Ten East last year. And that way, you know, our goal was to win the Big Ten East. And so we fell short, but we've not been in that position since they've had divisions at Indiana. And so to me, now that next step is to be able to now use that as a visionary goal that we have for this program, even though it's always been there on the peripheral. But now I believe they have a realistic opportunity to say it and then go live it out on game day.
It's a loaded conference, Coach, and y'all got a loaded division. But one of the things that I took away from last season is you're down 35-7 against what becomes the Big Ten champs and a team that plays for a national championship. Your kids storm back to where Ohio State holds on to this 42-35, but you have a quarterback that put up 495 in passing yards, which as a defensive guy, I really want to know how you feel about that. But also your kids got to see, no, we can play with these dudes. And we were right there. We had an opportunity to beat them. As a matter of fact, if there's not a pick six from Penix, like, you're probably playing that game in overtime, Coach. Like, how close do you think your kids are?
Well, you know, like you said, you break down that game, and we play them every year I've been here, and we've had some battles with them where we've been able to be close at halftime, and then even into the third quarter, even as recent as 2017, and then they pulled away in the fourth quarter, and they've traditionally pulled away from us, and in 2019 it wasn't. That was probably the biggest margin of victory, and just flat out, it never really felt like that we competed with them in that year. But then, you know, when you look at that game and you see how our players battled the way that they did and the way they fought back, and you're right, we had the ball twice in the fourth quarter. our last two possessions late in the fourth quarter where we had a chance to go take the ball down the field, go and to tie the game up and then decide there what happens next. And so you have to look at that and look at that game, and people can evaluate the game however they want. The bottom line was we had a chance with the, the clock running down to go win the game. And so to me, it was a major step for our program, even though, there was no such thing as a, moral victory for me at that point. We went there to go win the game, and I addressed that afterwards and pretty openly and honestly. And I just felt like that was what those guys needed to hear. I was proud of the fight. I was proud of the character that they showed in that moment when it would have been really easy to just, throw in the towel and just kind of, cash it in. And they did not. And I think that to me showed a whole lot about where our program has come to. And we've not had that situation. We've never had it where we've come back and made it close at the end since I've been here. And so, and like I said, it's just, you just take those moments and you teach from them. And to me, that's what we tried to do, was be able to make it a teachable moment of how we can in the future, find a way to win games like that. Because just like we had to find a way to win the Penn State game and try to find a way to beat a team like Michigan, try to find a way to beat a team like Wisconsin on the road, which we haven't done for a long, long time, and to win those close games against perennial top teams in this conference. And so to me, that's where we are. And so there's no question we are close, but like as you mentioned, we play a brutally tough schedule. We're in a great division. It's very challenging. And then we play other really, really good Big Ten teams cross divisional. And then we have a really, really talented non-conference opponent that we're going to play against. So bottom line is we're going to have to be at our very best each and every week. And that's really the whole goal, is play your best football each week. And if that's what you do, then you know what, you can hold your head high and know you're doing things the right way.
Coach, it's that last sentence that I want to focus on here, because your biography in particular, I find fascinating, and it is football. Like, you defense coordinator at Armwood in Florida before coming to head coach. You coached at Jackson, Tennessee, at Lambuth. You coached in Iowa at Drake. You coached at every level there is to coach at in this game. Is football to you, or is there something that you're able to take, especially as a defensive coach, everywhere you go? Because your defenses routinely have been, I'm not ashamed to say it, they've been kicking butt, Coach. Like, it seems like everywhere you go, you can put a defense on the field. What is it that you know that the rest of us don't?
Well, football is football. I do believe that. Like I said, I've coached at a small high school level and, big time high school level. I've coached at small college and now, major college of the Big Ten and the SEC. And so, I think people are people. How you build a team is consistent. It's relative per the level, of who you're going, who you're playing against, and the how you motivate, how you lead, how you get someone to chase after greatness in their life. And then as a football player, that part doesn't change. And so, I'm a defensive guy. There's no doubt about it. And I've been really blessed to be able to have a huge part in and being able to help some defenses get a whole lot better wherever we've gone. And that's, as a defensive coordinator, a lot of the time, sometimes even as a position coach, to be able to help change an environment and the culture and just to bring an energy and a belief and a way and an intensity to how we're going to play together. Because as I will continue to say, the best team wins. That's the key. It's getting your guys to play together, to believe in each other, to trust each other, to trust the coaches. And to me, it's the bottom line. It doesn't matter where we've gone. It's building relationships. It's building a bond with these players when they know you love them, you care about them, way beyond football. And that has been the common denominator from day one, whether it's been Temple Heights, Christian school down there, my first job, to Armwood, all the way up to Indiana where I was at Marion, and then Ben Davis for all those years. And then the college journey that we went on from 10 years, going to, like you mentioned, every level. I coached every level except junior college, in this sport. And so basically, it's loving people. It's caring about these guys. And then it's holding them to a high standard of behavior, to a high standard of preparation, and ultimately a high standard of performance. And we are relentless with the pursuit of that. And that will never change. And the energy level that we have, it stays up here. I'm going to coach that way. It's going to be passionate. It's going to be fiery. It's going to be intense. That's just all I know. And that's what I believe in. And I do have a defensive mindset. There's no doubt about that. And that's how I coach. And I'm just trying to be me and be real and be genuine and just coach with my hair on fire every single time we take the field. And that's how I want our teams to play.
It's contagious, Coach. The term that folks use when they talk about me, for instance, is energy. And I push that back. I say it's charisma, because that's what I get from you. I get tons of charisma. And that's why I'm interested in this question. Who are your mentors? Who did you learn to do this from?
Well, first of all, my dad, he was my high school coach.
Mm.
And, and to me, the biggest thing from him was the work ethic, the toughness, the attention to detail, the relentless, approach to things. And that was number one. And then I just think, as you go through, Dick Dolahan was a major influencer on me. Ben Davis High School head coach that hired me there, the Hall of Fame coach of that program, and just learned so many great things about him and or from him. And then, he was a big person that really pushed me or encouraged me to make the jump to college and pulled me into his office and said, I just think you're wired to be a college coach. And so I always had that desire. It's just, sometimes you don't know, how do I even make that happen? So, and I just feel like that, people along the way, and, Chris Creighton's been a real influencer on me as well. He hired me at Wabash and then again at Drake, and, his intensity and fire and passion burns deep, and he's a tremendous leader of men. And so those guys have really helped shape me, as a person in regards to some style of things. But I think a lot of it is just, it's just me being me, and I played with a ton of intensity and fire and passion as a player. And I just believe that's, I know in my heart, this is what I was created to do. And when you know your purpose in life, it creates passion, and it creates conviction, and it allows you to function at a high level of energy. Why? Because, man, I know why I was placed here. And it gives you so much confidence to go chase whatever the good Lord puts in your heart. And so I feel that every single day, and it drives me and motivates me.
Coach Allen got a Southeastern sensibility about him. It's one of the first things I pick up from you, Coach. And I got to ask this, as a guy who coached at Florida, coached in Arkansas, coached in Mississippi, when you were offered the job at Indiana, and you told Miss Tracy, like, what was her reaction to all of this? Like, we're going to be Indiana now? Is that what we're doing?
Well, the good news is this is my home, and that made it a strong pull. But I will say, we were living in Tampa, Florida at the time, which is a really nice place to live from a weather perspective. And we've lived there 2 different times. And so the idea that we were coming back to Indiana, she was excited for the opportunity that the position created at IU and to be a defensive coordinator in the Big Ten. But to be honest, it's hard to move from the Tampa Bay area. We lived right there in Harbor Island in that nice little spot. So, but yeah, she's a trooper. She's amazing. And, as she said very, very eloquently, that when we pursued this college dream, my dream became the family's dream. And she was the driver of that, because she, was the one with all of our kids when they had to make all the moves and all the tears and all the tough saying goodbye to your friends that they've established. Because we moved 7 times in 10 years, and that whole journey from when I left high school, where I came back to Indiana as the DC. So, but you know what? This is home. Bloomington's a beautiful, amazing place. And this is my home state. So it means a lot to me.
Now, Coach, I'm always going to try to put an emphasis on your partner there, because for me, watching what coaches do, I always think, man, their other half has to be doing so much work so that they can be great doing this on the sidelines. So when you give her those sorts of flowers, if you will, it warms my heart, Coach. I need to tell you that, because there's nothing like it. It's nothing like it.
No doubt.
I wanted to ask this though: why is the term for your 2021 team Chase? Why did you settle on that as a term for you?
Yeah, so we're a big one-word program, and so got that from John Gordon and his one-word book that he co-authored. And so every year we come up with a one word. And for me, I just always take whatever I feel like our team needs. I pray about it, really try to have a good feel for our guys and what's next for our program. And, we finished the bowl game, and that was a disappointment. And I knew we had a lot of guys coming back, and there was going to be high expectations for the team. And I'm like, how do we get this team to play and to be from here to take them to another level, which is a very difficult next step to do. There's no doubt about it. And so I just felt like that word embodied everything I wanted. So I went through and got the definition for Chase, and it's an earnest or frenzied seeking after something desired. And that's the definition that I put up on the big screen when we had our team meeting back in January, when the team returned from being away after the bowl game. And so also broke it down a step further, and that the earnest piece there is an intense conviction. Okay, which is a very powerful, I think, way to talk about how you have to chase after something with intense conviction. And then the frenzied word is the fiery, passionate pursuit of something. So these are purposeful words that we picked here to describe how we want to chase after greatness. And it's not just as a football player. So I want our guys to be able to identify personally, academically, and then as a football player, how they're going to chase after greatness in their life. I met with them one-on-one, charted that whole thing out, and wrote it all down. They wrote it all down for me. I put it in my computer so I can hold them accountable for those things they want to do. So to me, it's not just about, hey, we're going to be it's another year. We got a bunch of guys back. We're going to automatically just be better. Okay. It doesn't work like that. We play at such a high level in this league and in this country that if we don't get better, then man, you're going to slip back. And so I want this team to keep building and keep growing. And so to me, that word to me embodied, I want our team to chase after greatness every day, like a starving lion is chasing after its prey. That's the intensity. That's the fiery passion I want our guys to approach this with. And to me, that's how we've dealt with that. And so now our guys have bought into it. They've all got their own one words that they pick as well, but that's our one word for 2021 as a team, and that's chase.
Coach Tom Allen is chasing at Indiana. Coach, thank you so much. I know you got a big one up against Iowa to start the season. I appreciate your time.
RJ, it's been a pleasure. Have an awesome day. Leo.
You too, sir. My thanks to Indiana head coach Tom Allen for joining us. Again, his program is in a very good and cool position where they have an opportunity to really make some noise in the Big Ten. And now we're on to a very fun We Out Here segment where I gave the people this question. Who is the most overrated team in the AP preseason top 25? And we got some doozies of answers. I'm sure I haven't really checked this thread since I posted it, but I gave it to producer Kat, who thought it was good enough to do for a segment here. And now producer Kat comes in to tell us what she found and what she would like me to respond to.
All right, here's your first one. This is from Hank. Cincinnati. What do they have? One top 25 win against a team that finished in the top 25 this decade? Maybe 2 top wins ever in program history?
You know, I get where he's coming from. I didn't expect this to get all of the shade from Cincinnati, but I am inclined to agree with him. I am not as high as almost everybody else on Cincinnati for a number of reasons. I don't look at Desmond Ridder and see a first-round quarterback. I see a dude that throws as many interceptions as he does touchdowns, a guy that perhaps isn't a marksman in the way that you want him to be, and you're replacing a defensive coordinator that I thought was the truth in Marcus Freeman, who moved on to Notre Dame. Luke Fickell gets in Dan Enos, but I don't see that as a fix-all, especially in a loaded American where you have non-conference games against Indiana and Notre Dame this season. If they get to be number 8 by November, I would be shocked. I would overrate them as well. I'm not even sure they're going to make my top 25, but that's me. I'm inclined to be with Hank on this. Cincinnati is overrated.
Let's see if you agree with this one. So this is from Andrew. Florida at 13. That is way too high. Questions at QB, replacing a ton at the skill position. They belong closer to 22 to 25 range, if ranked at all.
Yeah, no, I'm with that as well. Like, I watched Emory Jones against Oklahoma last year. I wasn't inspired. Now, this is also a guy who was down to like Florida, Tennessee, and Ohio State at one point, and actually made way in a roundabout way for Justin Fields to end up at Ohio State and at Georgia, which is wild to think about because that is the kind of player that you expected Emory Jones to be, and he hasn't. And then you lose 2 first-round picks at receiver and Kadarius Toney and Kyle Pitts, who defies positional description because that's not a tight end. It's not a wide receiver. That is the evolution of football over there. And you lost the Heisman frontrunner in Kyle Trask, a guy that we didn't think was going to be that good, ended up being that good. Emory Jones just has to show me that he's that good before I just give them the number 13 spot, to say nothing of their defense. Now, I'm not inclined to say that people are just showing up to take what they want from Florida, but LSU showed up and took exactly what they wanted from Florida, who was ranked number 7 in the country in the swamp with a true freshman quarterback. I'm not ranking Florida. I'm not. That's Georgia's division this year, no matter what anybody wants to say about it. And Florida has some absolute monsters on its schedule. We'll see what they look like in the SEC, but no, I'm inclined to agree with Andrew. Florida's overrated, Cat.
Next one is from Gray Thompson. I want UNC to actually be a top 10 team so bad. I really do. I wish I believed it. I don't. I'm trying, and they'll likely start the season 6-0, but that's my answer.
No, I'm with this thinking, right? Because North Carolina occupies this spot that I would have given to a Utah. I look at Utah and I see you got better through the portal, and you also are fixing some issues that have plagued you. Like, for instance, your passing game, right? Going to get a quarterback like Charlie Brewer, who I expect to be the starter when Utah opens the season. And it could start its season 3-0 at a minimum, if not 4-0, depending on how you want to view USC this year, who I also think is going to be really good. But both SC and Utah got better in the portal and in their recruiting classes in a way that North Carolina did not. I love Mac Brown. I truly do. I like watching Sam Howell. I also know that Michael Carter and Javonte Williams are gone. De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome are gone. You are asking a lot of that receiving core in particular, even as you added Ty Chandler from Tennessee, who was good. But many people think that Eric Gray was the better of the two backs, and he's at Oklahoma, just to show you how loaded Tennessee once was at one time, and why I think they will get there again relatively soon, right? The way that people are thinking about Ole Miss now is the way I expect people to think about Tennessee in the coming years. That one's for you, Kat. But I'm with Gray. I wish I believed they were a top 10 team, because that'd be a lot of fun. And I would love to see somebody challenge Clemson in a meaningful way outside of perhaps Florida State, Miami. But I'm also not inclined to think that North Carolina is better than Florida State and Miami. They're just going to have to show me. And I think we're giving them the benefit of the doubt based on how they played last season. So I'm agreeing with everybody for the first time today, Kat.
I think you're also going to agree with this one, but before I read, can we go ahead and change the graphic here? Before I read this to you, I want you to look at our friend Karen's picture. Just look at it. Don't comment on it, but just look at her profile picture before I read this. I haven't even looked at this thing, and I know the answer is Texas. Death, taxes, yada, yada.
I can't see it. What is it? What does it say?
She's doing a horns down.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
But
all right.
her pick is Texas.
I'm inclined to agree with Karen, who is now unfortunately named, but I'm inclined to agree with the Karen for the first time in the history of the #1 ranked show. And a lot of this has to do with, I don't know what Steve Sarkisian's Texas looks like. He's not exactly inheriting a Ferrari, even as they've got the parts to build one. Like, I keep going back to my Formula One analogies because I think they work and I like the sport. But, Kat, there's a racing team called Haas that is American owned in Formula One. They have a Formula One car. They could build a car that rivals Mercedes or Red Bull or any of the major teams that you would think of that are capable of winning a championship. But just because you have the parts does not mean that you can build a car that can compete. That's how I see Texas until you show me that you have built a car that can compete. And then you look at Texas's schedule, it's low-key a gauntlet. Like, they're starting out as the number 21 team in the country, but Louisiana's going to be like, bet, showing up to their house, looking to wreck shop. And then you have an Arkansas who's going to be feisty, if nothing else, right? And it's not out of the realm of possibility for Texas to have 2 losses before they head up against Oklahoma the second Saturday in October. I'm inclined to agree. I don't think they're going to be bad, but I wouldn't preseason rank them top 21 or top 25, period. I would, in my most Monique voice, I would like to see it before I rank it. All right, Kat, is that what we got today?
No, I saved the best one for last. That
Oh,
you're
sweet.
Most definitely going to disagree with.
Okay.
This is from the 5th lane. We don't know his actual, unless his name's Lane, we don't know his actual name.
Burners are for cowards.
Oklahoma, win a game on the big stage and show you belong.
Yes, burners are for cowards. That's my take there. You don't say this if you have to attach your name to it. Okay. If people get to drag you, like people get to drag me, right? because my name is on everything that I say. Nah, man, I'm not even going to entertain that. We all know what Oklahoma is. That's the problem, actually. It's like Georgia. We know what it's supposed to do. We just needed to do what it's supposed to do. And until Oklahoma gets to number one, I'm not inclined to say that they're overrated. And even then, it's right where they should start. It's about where they're going to finish. Now, as much as I make jokes about the Big 12, and I will continue to make jokes about the Big 12 because it's funny, Iowa State is a really good football team. Texas, again, if they assemble the parts, and when are they most likely to assemble, but for their most hated rival in Oklahoma? And then Kansas State is living in an era where their head coach is undefeated against Oklahoma. You know, like, and then watching Dave Aranda's defense, I got the willies. Like, Dave Aranda 100% has Lincoln Riley's behind. Like, he's got him. First at LSU, now at Baylor. Something about that defense gives Lincoln Riley's offense the shakes. Okay? And those are the ones that off the top of my head. However, I still think it's one of the two best teams in the country. I mean, I'm not mad at number two. I ranked them number one. Hello. You know, burners are for cowards. Anyway, my thanks to producer Kat for helping put together this segment. It's one of my favorites to do each and every week. I really do look forward to it, and I really look forward to the Twitter interaction with you. Now, I want to give you my top 10 impact freshmen for 2021. Let's talk about my top 10 impact freshmen. You know how much I love recruiting. I know how much you love recruiting, and we want to talk about the guys that are going to affect our teams heading in this 2021 season. I picked out my 10 favorite. Let's start at number 10, Jatavion Sanders. All right, I love the Jatavion Sanders pick for me. I love that for me. It's an inside joke. You'll get it later. But I love that for me because that man plays both ways, and he's going to start out playing tight end for Texas. That's the thought, at least. Could he end up playing pass rusher? Could he end up being like a wide nine? Yes, he's that good, okay? This is a man who would stand in the end zone with his arm outstretched in the air, and they would throw him the ball, and he would just clutch it. He's got that sort of range, got that sort of athleticism, and he likes to have that kind of fun. Also a teammate of Billy Bowman's, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. So Texas, be happy. You got one of my 10 best. Number 9, Ja'Cory Brooks. All right, Ja'Cory goes for like 1,500, leads Booker T in Miami to a state championship, then bounced to IMG before heading out to join the best recruiting class in rankings history. That'd be Alabama. This is one of the guys that is going to help you replace Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. It's going to add to John Mechie. I mentioned one other earlier in my top preseason teams, right? My top 10. But when I think about Ja'Cory, I think about a guy that is going to compete, going to help you get those guys that you want toward the top. And I think we're going to see more of him than less of him in 2021. Number 8, Donovan Edwards. Ugh. All right, I say it just like that because my man rushed for over 1,000 yards in 9 games in a COVID year. In a plague year, man rushed for over 1,000 yards, and you need the help at Michigan. I know that Jim Harbaugh's favorite player on that team is Hassan Haskins because he told me so. But Donovan Edwards is going to help you do what Jim Harbaugh loves to do the most, run the doggone football and play ball control. I really love this for Michigan. Number 7, Billy Bowman. That man gives himself to alliteration, and he's going to give himself even more at Oklahoma. Can play both ways for you, can play the slot back position, can play the nickel safety position, can return kicks for you, can return punts for you, and insult to injury for you Texas fans. And the reason I want to give you some love at number 10, you know Billy Bowman was committed to the University of Texas before flipping his commitment to hated rival Oklahoma, where I expect he'll be on a team competing for a national championship. Number 6, JT Tuimoloau. Right, now, here's the thing. I could have him higher, I could have him lower. We're really talking about Larry Johnson and this kid's just amazing ability at 6'5", 280 pounds. Chris Holtman is already talking about, I'm going to have conversations with Ryan Day about whether or not I can have JT play basketball in the winter months. That's phenomenal for him and phenomenal for Ohio State, but He just got to campus. We don't know what kind of shape he is in, but I would expect to see him playing lots of snaps as we get closer to the game toward the end of the season. All right, let's go to my top 5. Number 5, Corey Foreman. All right, I was telling folks, you didn't really need to keep JT Tuimoloau in the Pac-12. He's from the state of Washington because you already signed the number 1 player in the country from the state of California. Tremendous win for the Pac-12, even bigger win for USC, a bookend with a friend in Drake Jackson, who is probably going to end up a first-round draft pick. So your defensive line for Todd Orlando is set. You understand what you have, and I think you get to say, hey, look, we convinced the number 1 player in the country to come to a team who really hadn't played for a championship in well over a decade. That's not a small thing. Number 4, Ajay Hall. Remember, I mentioned him when I was talking about Ja'Cory Brooks. You're going to lean on these 2 freshmen quite a bit for Bill O'Brien's Alabama offense because you have to. But that is also what they were recruited to do. One of my favorite things is to hear Nick Saban rebut what players wouldn't say negatively recruiting against him. One of those is, hey, if you go to Alabama, you're not going to play. To which Saban would say, doesn't that insult you? That they're telling you that you're not good enough to play at Alabama? Otherwise, why am I here? No, he wants those kids that can play right away. And if you're that good, you will see the football field. And I think Ajay is that good. Number 3, Will Shipley. I love Mr. Hershey, right? I call this milk Hershey, white chocolate. Keep up. Look, this is your answer for Travis Etienne, okay? This is the man that I think you're going to see get the bulk of the touches, not just this year, but then in the coming years. And he's going to have over 2,000 yards all-purpose. Really love this for Tony Elliott's offense and DJ Uiagalelei, who's going to need a guy 7.5 yards deep that he can hand the rock to, then go get him 10. Number 2, Travion Henderson. All right. This is one of my favorite players heading into 2021. Didn't get to see him play at all in 2020 because the state of Virginia decided against playing football in that COVID year. But Travion Henderson has a highlight tape that's like 9 minutes long, and everything is going for a house call. He's only going to make house calls. That's all he's doing. And also played some defensive back where he's over to pick off other players. No, number 32 for Ohio State, I believe is going to have a tremendous career, and you're about to see the start of it in 2021. And at number 1, Jack Sawyer. All right. I was on a plane ride home watching Ohio State's spring game because it's my job. And I'm watching this dude tear up this Ohio State offensive line 3 months after getting to campus. On the other side is one Zach Harrison. This is one of the best players in the country. You're going to hear his name quite a bit. You know Joey Bosa's name. You know Nick Bosa's name. You know Chase Young's name. You're going to know Jack Sawyer's name. All right, those are my top 10 impact freshmen. That's going to do it for this episode of the number 1 ranked show. My thanks to Indiana head coach Tom Allen, who has a tremendously big game against number 18 Iowa to open the season. Good luck to he and the Hoosiers. Also, some news here. We're moving from 1 show a week to 2 shows a week, beginning the Sunday after week 0. That means that we're going to recap and react to the day of college football Sunday following each Saturday. And then on Tuesdays, we're going to do live shows, which I'm very excited about, where we will react to the college football playoff rankings. Yes, I understand the college football playoff rankings don't actually come out until November. But if you have learned nothing else about me and this show, it is that I have things to say and I have my own rankings, which I will give to you in addition to some comments on the news of the day on those Tuesday live shows. The show is executively produced by Kristen Herlihy. It is produced by Catherine Donnelly. Our director is John Marcus, who just joined the team. I'm very excited about that. And social media is managed, see what I did there, by Javion Duncan. And of course, I host the show. All right, we will see y'all on Sunday when we talk about the day of college football that Saturday. That's it for me. Doses.